Well, to see comments right now, no, it'll just totally F me up.
Hey,
Yo,
we are live, guys! Yay!
GOT.
Yeah,
Game of Thrones.
DOT number
I
4.
got it.
So Brandon, I think we have to start with you because you've already watched this episode. So we're gonna have to kick you
I
off.
think we've all watched this episode.
Yeah, we
Matt.
all just watched it, dude.
What?
Well, for the second time.
Some of us
Watched
just watched
it
really
twice?
quick.
We'll have to when I show the graphics you sent me of the frame by frame
Yeah.
breakdowns. Then
Brandon
we'll really
is our
know.
three-eyed raven.
He's like,
he is the maester.
His name is also Brandon.
he wears glasses.
Let's say
Six-eyed
hypothetically,
raven.
you did have a chance to watch an episode this season a couple times. This one would be the one.
Yeah.
That's
Why'd you
true.
watch it twice? How did you watch it twice?
I have no idea what you're talking about, Ben.
Eat 2 TVs simultaneously.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. Just
Nick.
both eyes like a fish looking
I
out.
watched it with a mirror.
Yeah. So, welcome to the Spark of Madness Game of Thrones episode 4 podcast. I do want to clarify because last week we had some anger, and I don't know. I'm going to start just really quickly at the start. If it wasn't clear, this is not us streaming the episode.
What?
We're not going to just. And I think we'll have less of a problem now that the episode
If
is
you are in
leaked,
Abu
but,
Dhabi, we do not have the episode here.
No, we don't. Please don't call us expletives and say there's lots of bullshits. Please don't say we're full of talk. No episode 3. I'm out. Bunch of assholes. Yeah.
Well,
so just to be
You were
clear.
right on the
The
last
assholes are
part,
right.
but
Yeah.
Yeah.
The assholes are right. No.
And full of talks. No episode. Actually, that last one was pretty specific to
I for one appreciate all our fans, even those that have more colorful ways of describing us. But
Mm-mm.
Well, hopefully those people
Yeah,
come back. I guess
exactly.
we'll see.
come for
There
the
you go.
episode stream,
Anyway.
stay for the talk, because that's what you're gonna get.
Great insights.
Well, let's get right into it because it was actually a pretty short episode. After last week, we sort of got the reunion, the merging of Ice and Fire, as well as the Cersei resurgence to just knocking Dany down a peg. And then this episode had a lot of course, like the one image I pull is like the banking episode, the banking
Sure.
image, but there's as short as it was, there's a whole lot. What kind of stood out for you guys?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe the dragons.
Dragon. The big
Dragon.
giant dragon.
Well, technically more than one dragon in this episode, but yeah, Drogon was putting on a show and it was lit.
Well, if you're gonna count the two, like the them in the foreground, like I want to use a different weapon, you can't count those dragons. So technically, yeah, that was a cool episode.
Well, and I know we're built to it, but to finally see, I mean, that is a payoff we've been waiting 6+ years for, and book readers have been waiting, decades almost. But that to finally
yeah.
get to see a dragon not only used in battle, but used in battle effectively. It's taking out those lines. It was breaking through that shield barrier at the beginning to let them first. It was extremely well done, and I geeked out so hard for it.
Yeah,
a
me
couple
too.
of different.
That's the coolest use of a dragon I've ever seen in cinema. It
For sure.
really is. And that's
And to have it on the like Westworld lot, there's like, let's just reuse all that stuff from Westworld.
Let's just put more green and change the color of the stone.
Yeah. Let's get a little bit some maces in the background. Well, no one will know.
Color corrected.
You see Ed Harris walking around in the background.
He's right.
Nick, what stood out for you?
Yeah, so it was probably that last scene too. But like just seeing everybody, just like the effects of the people walking around on fire and what they had to do to probably pull that off with stuntmen or whatever. But just that, and then just like the shots of like horses stomping on ash, or like a guy's body in ash, and then the wind picks up and it just blows away, and it's just That was insane, and it was also that part was probably my favorite part, just because like I was simultaneously stressed out about the dragon, and like I know they're gonna pull that giant scorpion out or whatever at some point, but I was also like I don't want Jamie to go out this way. I don't want specific people to go out this way. So it was really tense. I was tense for both sides. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to step over you, but I was worried about my Jamie theory. At that, like, oh no, you know,
Ben doesn't care about story. What about what I predicted?
It was like fantasy football. Like, no, don't kill yourself yet. You got to kill Cersei.
I don't know. I would say that both the effects of that last scene, but also to Brandon's point, the payoffs for like so much waiting and like to finally see a dragon in action against soldiers like that, and but I thought when Tyrion walked over the mound and like he was there with him, and to see his brother and like that little flea, you idiot, and you know, they teased at the start of the episode like maybe you don't want to hurt them as much as you claim you do, and to see that kind of circled back at the end of it, I just thought like the way they presented that entire scene with Bronn and all of the different characters, like we're here at season 7, and they. Like, it was a great payout, and we're only in episode 4. So, and that was almost like Battle of the Bastards worthy almost. I don't know if it's close in my mind.
Well, that perspective.
No,
that perspective of being able to see it from Tyrion's perspective was both impactful, both so that you could see, especially when the dragon got hit, and that effect as it was kind of flailing there at first of his hit. If you saw it from the battle through all the ash and everything, it would not have looked nearly as cool. Having that shot where we're seeing it from that perspective, and to your point, he never. I mean, from the last time he saw Jamie was letting him out of jail. Jamie was letting him out, and he knew he was kind of betraying Jamie because he went and then killed Tywin. So he definitely still has a soft spot for Jamie because that was someone he still cared about. It's Cersei that he absolutely hates and thinks is the devil. So, you know, he does still have. I don't think he cares two minutes about Cersei, but for Jamie, he definitely still has that emotional bond. So,
can I make one point about that whole battle sequence? No, I agree with you about that bond with Tyrion, sure. But I the one thing that bothered me, and I don't know if it bothered you guys, when Bronn jumps and saves Jamie at the end, you know, all of a sudden they're like in like 30 to 40 feet of water going down. It's like, wait a minute, if this is, you know, this is some kind of deep lake with no shoreline. Like he was like he was right in the water on the shoreline. He jumps in and like, oh, he's sinking way down below. That was my only complaint. But other than that, it was great.
Hey, if you can't not say they won't do a Westworld thing.
Well, I'll say this.
You can't not say he'll just bubble down and like appear in a room with Anthony
First
Hopkins.
of all, you definitely can have lakes that have sudden drop-offs, but I definitely get your point where they're running on the side. But they did also they laid in some tracks in there, like right before the last shot you see of Bronn before he's saving Jamie, you actually see him next to a horse that is unmounted, so it's available. They're almost setting it up so that he can kind of make that scene. Now you don't know at the time, you know, what his goal is, but they've you know, they put it in. Yeah, it's a little bit of ex machina.
No,
you know,
I don't mind the ex machina. I don't understand like the how
never ending abyss of water.
30, yeah, like when you're just on the shoreline. But that's my only complaint.
Next episode, Jamie's gonna be getting mouth to mouth by Ser Jorah. That's my prediction. He's just gonna wake up. Jorah's gonna be there.
I think actually it'll probably be Varys with those mermaid legs, just swim down there and pull him out and like capture him. So speaking of Jamie potentially drowning, none of us had him in our death pool, and
Ron too.
At some point, we're gonna have to come up with a criteria for Ilaria saying if we're gonna let Brandon get those points. But
what do you mean?
She's still alive.
I feel like if she doesn't come back this season, then she's gone.
Yeah, I think by the end of the season,
For what
we
it's
could
worth,
maybe
I'm not
safely
claiming
say.
she's gone yet either. I did have a close brush with
Okay.
Theon. I thought, come on, John. But then I for a moment, I forgot
Yeah.
about what he did for Sansa. And so that was kind of interesting how they paid it off. Even as a viewer, I'm like, oh, Theon's dead. And then when he walks up to him and he makes the comment about Sansa, I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a weird version of Theon, I thought. Like, it was sort of... He snapped into original Theon almost. It wasn't Reek Theon, and it wasn't the kind of rehabilitated version either. It was like he kind of went back to his old mind.
He had a little
place,
bit of
I
a,
guess.
this is
Did
a
you guys
Sansa.
get that?
He did
My only pushback against that would be Theon was kind of a dick to John.
What do you mean? That's impossible.
I mean, old Theon. But like in that first episode, even he's kind of talking about here's the runt pup when he gives him the dire wolves, you know, and talks about John. He's kind of talking down to John. He definitely didn't look to him as a peer. He almost thought that he was a ward from the Greyjoys, and and John was a bastard. And it's almost like he kind of took pride in the fact that you're not a real son of Eddard Stark. And so I don't know. It was kind of interesting, I think, just to see that play back and forth, even though if it was brief.
Yeah. So Nick, what did we had kind of a showdown for a second with Bronn versus my dragon pick. I thought we were getting the dragon kill,
I thought
honestly. I thought they both were going to die, but of course neither did.
I thought they were gonna. I thought like so when Drogon opened his mouth to like go breathe the fire, I was like, man, that arrow is going right down his throat, and then he's gonna crash land into Bronn 2 for 1, but it didn't happen. That would have been probably kind of cheesy if that actually happened, but maybe cool.
If fire had come out, you could probably make an argument that it should have turned that spear into ash the same way it's turning people's armor and swords into ash when they're in direct line of it, right?
Well, yeah, I was thinking it was just gonna right down. Yeah.
Yeah.
We get a slow-mo gif of that one. Anybody out there? That'd be great.
Well, I thought the that sort of last shot, I guess. I thought at first I was like, well, I guess it's kind of vulnerable, but it still was pretty much fine. Maybe it's more just like where you hit it. Like that's, but then it's sort of like the Scorpion. Okay, this is the level set. Like it can get through, but you still have to make like one in a non-critical spot isn't going to do it.
Is it laced with poison?
So,
is it laced with poison? Like that. That's what I wonder.
I think that's a really good question. Here's something else to think about.
It's a good idea.
This was the first time they're using it in battle. It was in a battle they weren't anticipating, right? So I think if you look back, if you step back, I think they should consider themselves pretty lucky that they scored a hit at all in the very first battle, especially since they weren't organized. Now, imagine if we cut either next week or actually probably like the last episode of the season or whatever. Imagine we cut and you see King's Landing or the Red Keep lined with like 30 of these things, right? And they're all up there and ready. Then we as viewers, knowing that they scored a hit, even if it wasn't a direct hit on that first battle, you're thinking, I don't know if you want to be going up there with those dragons. So
well, is anybody going to be, who's going to communicate that at this point that there was a success?
That's a really good point. Unless Bran slips it because he sees everything, right?
I mean, when when all the ashes blow onto King's Landing, they'll be like, "Oh shit, we better get some giant weapons out."
That's a good point. How
just like little fingers
in the ash look off the distance.
Yeah,
it's kind of interesting. It was kind of interesting. You guys were talking about, or we were talking about how you kind of felt like tension from both sides, and I kind of felt like they played that up a lot in this episode. So Brandon talked about John and the ward John and Theon, and it was like, what's gonna happen? You kind of want John to like get his retribution on Theon for what he did in season 2 or 3 or whatever, but you kind of don't. And I felt like they kind of did that with Brienne and Arya too a little bit. It's like, is Arya pissed at Brienne because she fought and Arya thinks the Hound is dead? Like, how far is she gonna take this? Like, I literally was like, how far is Arya gonna take this? Like, is she gonna stop, or is she gonna get pissed off enough? And then like Brienne was going kind of hard. I was like, this is a little girl, Brienne. You're like 6'12". So
that's 6'12".
I didn't feel that. That's really interesting. What about the other two? Did you guys get that? I didn't think about that read at all, even though it totally makes sense how you explained it, Nick. Did you guys think that Arya was really upset with Brienne? Anybody else?
No.
Upset?
Or
no,
vindictive
no.
because of the Hound or anything?
No.
No, I think I interpreted it all. Or go ahead, Ben, because I think we might have the same.
Well, you
thought.
go ahead. You can articulate things better than I can. Okay.
Shabba-dabba-doo-boo.
Okay, I'll just go ahead. No, I don't think so. I think because at that point she wanted to kill the Hound. They had like a bond together, but no, she's probably grateful that she, killed the Hound. You know what I mean? No, I don't think she's vindictive at all. I think they were like,
no.
Well, she had that part in season 4 or 5 where she was in the Temple of the Faceless Men or whatever, and she's supposed to be lying, and they are asking her like if she cared about the Hound or whatever, and she said no, and she got smacked. It was an obvious lie. So she actually has pretty deep feelings for the Hound, and she developed those deep feelings. I didn't think Bran would ever be on her list, but also it's like you're still kind of figuring Arya out a little bit. And so like, I don't know. There's a little bit of tension there for me.
So I'm gonna move straight to our first stock up, because I've had Arya up for myself this whole time. She was my number one for this episode. Yeah, I probably took yours. But yeah, my read on that was more like she knows how good of a fighter Brienne is, that she took on the Hound. And so like we get this sense of her badassery just like exponentially increasing every time we see her. And so we get to the scene where she wanders up to Brienne and is just, I think she's in full like, I want to be a kill machine and I need your help right now. And so because you're the best fighter that I can train with at this point. That was my read on it.
Yeah, you're my level.
That was my read on it too, but that also was like, what if?
The only slight variance, I didn't take it that she needed or even thought she wanted the training. I thought she was measuring. It's like, okay, I've been in Essos all this time. I've been in Bravos. I want to get my measure of someone that I know is a good fighter, that I've seen fight. And I thought it was really kind of a way for her to kind of assess her own skills. I think she realizes Brienne is kind of a good person, and I feel like she accurately has a read on Bran as we do as a viewer, as someone who's trying to do right by the Starks and all that other, that the joy she got out of it, of knowing that she could hold her own against it, and the respect she was getting from Brienne. I ate that scene up. There were like 4 or 5 scenes in this episode that I truly love. The dragon fight, obviously at the top, but that one was my number 2.
I did like what she said to who taught you that? No one. You know, like who taught? No, it's like that.
Look at Brienne. Brienne like smiles at first, and then it settles into what does that mean? But there's like an initial smile at first. I thought.
No one.
Yeah.
What'd you think? What were you guys thinking that Sansa's reaction was? Because I had some feelings on it, but I'm curious to see what you guys thought. Because Sansa and Littlefinger they got front
to her fighting, to the fighting or the kill list. Because she had kind of I interpreted it as like. The kill list, she was like, I'm kind of on board with this. Who else is on your list? Let's go kill people. But when she saw, like, it was kind of disconnect a little bit. But I interpreted when she saw her sister fighting, like she didn't, this idea that they've kind of played through that we don't recognize each other anymore. And I think it was also kind of apparent in it was a little bit awkward in the crypt when she met up with Sansa again. Like they're kind of, they don't know who each other are anymore because it's been so long.
I have a question. Is Littlefinger on her list?
Okay, so this has been something in my household we've been discussing quite a bit. I thought for a while that she was on the list, and then I got reviewing, and I couldn't find evidence in the books that she was. But in the show, I think she might be, and I was trying to think, well, what would it be that would have caused it? And if he is on her list in the show, I think it's because of something that's show only. It wasn't in the books, where she was serving as the water girl for Tywin, and Littlefinger came and was scheming with Tywin, so she knew that Littlefinger was assisting Tywin in the War of the Five Kings, and I think that was a time in which Robb was still alive, before the Red Wedding. So if he is on her list in the show, and I haven't went back in the episodes to confirm, but I think he is, though. If he is on her list, I think it would be because of that scene. What makes it odd, like I said, is that's that whole scenario where she was the water girl for Tywin is not from the books.
Yeah, because like it makes that scene of her staring at him more like if he is on the list, like more like way ho ho ho.
Yeah, well, and her surprise
Foreshadowing.
when
And
they're in the
Ben
Godswood,
and Ben
When
will
they're in
get
the
his
Gods-
death wish.
when they're in the Godswood, and she goes, "Littlefinger's here." And it's like a record scratch stop, and she turns to Sansa. It was like,
She's like,
my take of the list, when she heard about the list in the catacombs, she's like, ha ha ha, and they even laughed it off, and then Arya kind of laughed at her response to it and didn't bother to say no for real. But then when Bran mentions it from the visions without being prompted, Sansa's like, oh crap, that's for real. And she's like, who else is on your list? And so it was just it kind of goes also, there's been a meme going around the internet about how, you look at the Stark kids, and it's like, and we might have talked about this even a little bit last week, but you've got Bran, who now has visions. You have Jon that's came back from the dead. You have Arya, who's a killing machine, and you've got Sansa, who's, she's survived, and she's much more powerful than she was before, but she seems to be the only one that didn't get the magical abilities.
She reminds me a lot of Catelyn, like the way she's like holding herself and walking around, even the way they're like clothing her in these episodes.
That's a good
like
point.
The new Catelyn Stark.
Littlefinger agrees with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, who else did you guys have stock up? Nick, I know I just took yours, but did you have another one?
I'll just say Bronn. He almost died, but he had some kick-ass scenes. So he was kind of the guy you were following in the battle for a while, and he was kicking some ass, taking some names, took a leg off a horse, got in there, got the scorpion, loaded it. First shot was
that scorpion unveiling was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, so it moved pretty well too.
Oh yeah, like even the way they shot that and the cuts they had when he was on the scorpion, it's like, damn, Bronn is a badass. He was just like loading it, like he knew what he was doing, and he just I thought he was gonna die the entire time, and he's not really safe. He maybe he's safe, who knows? Based on the episode, but he kicked a lot of ass, so I'm up on Bronn.
He should.
Yeah, it was gonna be his Bronn song for.
I have to say, he kicked so much ass. I was actually worried because I don't want to see the dragons die, and so when that was happening and it looked like he was gonna score a hit and it was gonna be fatal, I was actually, and I love Bronn too, but when I had to pick between the two, I was completely Team Drogon. So I was like,
I was really upset that he dropped his bag of gold, though. I was like, damn it. Yeah. Bronn can't ever get his pay.
He looked at it, too. It's like, oh, I can't mess with this right now.
For me, Brandon, it was the same reaction I had to when gosh, I can't think of when the Hound and Brienne were fighting. Oh no, I love you both. Like
yeah.
Oh, what's interesting? I had that feeling with Jaime. I like Jaime all right. I really like Bronn, but I was ready for both of them to go if they needed to go in this story because I was really up on that team. What was
the long tracking the long tracking shot they kind of had of him sort of in the Jon Snow Battle of the Bastards role where things are flying by him kind of randomly. That was like, they've got that process down, and it was cool to see him.
Those shots are incredible. I highly recommend a second or third or fourth viewing.
Do you know how they're doing? I kind of figure out how they're doing those shots a little bit, actually. It's still very complex, but I think when they shoot from a lower angle, it makes it a little bit easier to track, like on the green screen or whatever they're doing to do that. Because he doesn't have to show, like he bends down a couple times to show the ground, but he doesn't have to show the ground so they can kind of see the background more. And I think it might be easier a little bit. I mean, it's still unbelievable.
The little details, like even when Drogon's coming in for that one kill lane, right, and he's swooping in over the river, and you actually hear like a wing hit a tree as it's kind of going through. You have the guys on the line, and you've got that one guy that he's holding the line. He's not moving, he's not fleeing, but you can tell he's shaking. That Lannister that's shaking. so many little details. The horses gallantly as everything kind of slows down with the flaming. It's just wonderful.
They had a great
stock up, Ben.
Oh God, let me think. Well, first of all, let me comment about the fight real quick. They had a great reveal of the dragons, like with Jaime, and everybody's like, oh, like
I
this
think
is
we can
this
do
is,
this. He just got done saying, I think we can hold him off. Because
And it's
Braun was
like,
telling him to go back
because
to
he's seen this for the first time coming in the battle. Like it's kind of like that Superman moment when Superman, reveals himself for the first time. Had that as an audience member, that like, oh crap, you're gonna get it. Yeah, we know this thing, but you haven't seen it. Now all of like it finally in battle. Whose stock is up for me? You okay? So let's see.
So
here.
far, we've had Arya.
I think
Arya
Jon
Braun.
I think Jon Snow a little bit, just a little bit. I mean, yes, he still has to bend a knee, but man, I that like they're getting to see that they're very similar characters in their roles.
He found some pretty existing evidence for his case on the White Walkers, right? And was able to show that.
Yeah. Pretty. I wasn't totally convinced that it wasn't him with some chalk just back there. Like, how would you have not found? Oh, there's this wide open cave down here, and by the way, here's everything that will explain perfectly what I need to.
It was actually Shireen Baratheon from season 2.
There you go.
She was down there.
So my stock up. Oh, go ahead.
Well, can we talk about that moment real quick, and then we can talk about your stocks? Jeez,
I didn't know you had something. Then, by all means, please.
All right. I'm just kidding. No, that moment of them like kind of getting the hots for each other was like, you cut this with a knife, like I didn't have to. You can watch the end, and you can kind of like when the producers explain it, it's like yeah, I clearly saw that tension. There was a lot of big eyes looking at each other.
I didn't think that at all. I'm just when Daenerys is on screen.
Well, what about when Davos even made a comment that he's seen her looking at her heart a few times?
They needed that line because that scene wasn't good enough.
Oh, it was good enough for me.
Yeah,
I know.
I feel it a little bit too. I will say that I feel like Emilia Clarke and Kit Harington are like a little better together than like Emilia. Like I feel like she was a little better this episode than maybe in some other stuff. That's just my opinion. Like she's working. I feel like they have some like chemistry together, and yeah, I don't know. I believe it.
I agree.
I agree, but my question for you, Nick, isn't that kind of like incest, like a little bit because they're related?
Yes.
Technically.
At this point, I don't think you can call that out anymore.
They don't know.
Bar is so low on incest in the show.
Yeah.
It's like it's like normal. Accidental incest and then intentional.
But it's like
a little bit of the incest.
It's like aunt and nephew though, so it's not like as bad as some of the typical stuff.
It's true, but you just said
all right,
Brandon. Brandon, it's your turn.
Brandon, what was yours?
I can't tell you how glad I am. You guys always do this. You lay out the red carpet for me so that I can bring home the actual stock up, and that's got to be Daenerys, right? She's been taking punches all season long so far. She's been losing this ally. Say what you will about Bran. He got a little shot in, yay, but then everything else just blew up to dust, right? So yeah, I think it's definitely Team Daenerys is up this week. I think they're up big. I'm not even sure. Is there any disagreement?
No, she clearly won the week. I think if she had gotten Jon to bend the knee, then it would have been like just shut it down. Like
and Jon in that moment really wanted to bend that knee, if you know what I mean.
So Ben's going to be writing fanfic to get us through to next week, by the way.
Yeah, he's gonna have a whole script.
So her dragon came down.
Song of Fire and Ice, right?
So her dragon came down though, right? Like, is he grounded? Like, is he getting back up, or I mean, because he like got hit in kind of the shoulder and then he came down. So it's like is he on the ground? Like, is he?
Here's how I think it's gonna go. I think he is grounded. I think for the rest of the season he will be in heal mode, and so we'll need to get that shot, as Brandon said, to see the full weight of multiple scorpions and preparation and plans, where we see the other two dragons maybe going down, and then the return of the one dragon left, as like, and Drogon's clearly the the main, her favorite and the main one. So that's kind of how I think he is grounded. I don't know, but what do you guys think?
I think so too. But I'm wondering, with the name like the Scorpion, and the fact that they're discovering poison, that crazy maester's discovering poison, is if it's laced with poison. So there's like, not only is he grounded, but hey, there's poison on this blade.
I think they would have
in this arrow.
They would have had to have given us a clue for that. I agree with you that would be effective, and I think it would have been smart of the character. But I think they would have given us some indication that was part of the plan in advance, so that when we hear that, we're not surprised by it personally.
Okay.
But I think you're making a really good point. That would be a logical thing to do. If you're going to be able to stick it and you don't think it's going to be able to enough to kill him, why not lace the heck out of it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. All right, I'm gonna move us to our. Or go ahead.
I was going to say, as far as the grounding, I don't know that he's grounded. I didn't get that sense that he's wounded that badly. I think he landed because he was hurt and they were going to pull. I think once they're not having to battle and whatnot, she gets it pulled out, and I think he's fine. He might be a little injured or a little hesitant, but I personally didn't get the sense he's grounded. To the other point, though, I think there are things, and maybe this is where you're going, but I think there are things, clues given in this episode that are not as big and they're not as flashy. They're not going to get our attention right after the show. But like Cersei literally told the Iron Bank that she's talking to the Golden Company, which is a bunch of sellswords over in Essos, another basically an army for hire. They've already laid the groundwork that Cersei's got these other plans. Now she just lost. I don't know if we're supposed to understand that that's like the majority of the Lannister troops. That's my impression. So she just lost a big chunk of troops that were both Lannister troops and some of the Highgarden troops that had turned sides. So I wonder if Cersei's in a situation where she needs to delay a little bit. And so I wonder if there will be either peace talks or some type of negotiation while she's buying time. I think there are like little clues that are going to pay off that are in the scenes that aren't as flashy this episode.
What about the gold? All that gold.
Mm-hmm. Well,
that got taken in, right? The gold made it.
Did it?
Yes. Right?
Oh.
So yes, I have a question. I have a question.
Gold made it.
Did.
They had a specific line
Charlie
about
said,
the golds and
Charlie's dad, Sam Tarley's dad. I forget his first name.
Randall.
Randall, thank you. Randall Tarley specifically told Jaime and Bronn that the gold had made it into Cersei. And he even uses the word all the gold. So the other.
Okay.
Randy and Dickon Tarley.
Hey,
Randy and Dick Tarley.
Dickon made a big save there, so laugh all you want.
Rick and Dick. Well, I have a question.
It's like a cop show.
I have a question. So let's think about this. The Unsullied are trapped at Casterly Rock, and now the Dothraki are outside of King's Landing. Who's at Dragonstone? So hypothetically, Euron Greyjoy has a shitload of ships, and Dragonstone is vacant. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. Dragonstone is just a piece of land that they're living in.
And my answer to that question would be Dragonstone, as far as we know, still has 2 dragons.
That's true. That's true.
And we know dragons are pretty effective against ships.
Yeah, when
we didn't get any word of Grey Worm and like what's happening over there, right? Like if they were captured or anything. We didn't get that.
There was a line. There was one line, something about trying to get them out of there or something like that. I feel like.
Okay.
But that was it.
Okay.
Well, I thought it was interesting. Also, Theon said that the reason he's wanting to get Dany's help to rescue his sister. So I didn't even, to be honest with you, I hadn't even thought about them trying to make some type of rescue attempt and what that would look like. So I don't know if anything had come of it. And again, I don't want to, if you've got already some other things you're wanting to hit, Matt, but I thought the interaction between Bran and Littlefinger was fascinating. So I think there's some stuff there to talk about if it's on your list, or I don't know, want to undercut anything.
Well, I guess if it does, we can talk about it if somebody has it within their like stock down. I think Littlefinger is, it's hard to gauge if his character's influence is ever where it is, in my opinion. I can't really tell. It seems like everybody's onto him.
Yeah.
So like everybody's just like, and then we get this last scene after like weeks of after weeks of Sansa just being like, I'm onto your shit, Littlefinger, cut it out. Okay, he tries to like get on get in with Bran, and he's like literally the person who has seen all
Yes.
time and all decisions ever made. It's like, oh, you can't buy it, break.
Yeah, I get that sense as well. There's no reason to believe. I mean, everything's been leading up, and all the signs point to this sword of Damocles hanging over Littlefinger's head, right? And it's just a matter of, well, when is that finally going to fall? The question is are they going to subvert that perspective and somehow find a way for him out of this, or is it literally just going to be this delayed thing until we kind of see him get his? But I definitely, the sense of it is that he's not in good shape. There's nothing his way this year. So I think that if you're wanting to start a stock down, that I think he's definitely on the list.
And that he's
Yeah.
up on my board. He's number one on my board too. So that's key.
That's
But
That's right. You have reminded us many times.
because of Littlefinger, I don't think he's out. I think he's got some backup plans that we don't know about. You know, he's got a lot of.
I could see him defecting at some point. Like he hasn't I think he gets all the secrets, and then he may just bolt for the other side soon. That may be where this goes.
Oh snap!
How about I'm gonna give. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna. Yeah, I just think he's gonna turn coat really soon.
I mean, I feel like it'd be easier to kidnap Bran at this point, given the invention of the wheelchair in this episode. Come on.
He's got some nice friends on it.
Speaking of Bran, he's like a medieval Professor Xavier, isn't he? Like he can see like.
The shot where he's talking to Littlefinger, and Littlefinger says, "Oh, you must be stunned by all the chaos after you return home." And he looks at him dead eye, and he goes, "Chaos is a ladder." The look on Littlefinger's face. Now, Meryn walks in. What's it? Is it Meryn? I can't.
Hold on, I got it.
Mira. Thank you.
Mira.
Yeah, Mira walks in and interrupts that scene, but seeing just for that brief moment that, oh shit, I am in trouble. He immediately knew that he was in trouble.
Because he said that? Because Littlefinger said that before Chaos is a ladder?
Oh, he absolutely. That's one of the biggest lines that he's had in his play back and forth with Varys, the spider.
Okay.
They had this big old conversation actually in the throne room where basically Varys was trying to say chaos isn't good for anybody and it's not good for the realm. And Littlefinger's basically saying chaos, because he says chaos is a pit. And Littlefinger's like, no, chaos isn't a pit. Chaos is a ladder. Talking about how it's opportunity.
Yeah. It's like,
so having Bran look right at him as he's handing the dagger, that was used to try to kill him, and just say chaos is a ladder is like, oh.
I just really feel like playing Jenga with Littlefinger would be a bitch. He'd just be like, plop. Oh, it's all over every time. And then he'd just like, yeah, let me set up the board again.
And then he like convinces you to get a timeshare or something after.
They've given us two different hints at this now, and I think they doubled down on it just to make sure we're all paying attention. In this scene, having Mira up there, she makes the comment, "You died in that cave," right? And after he had basically no emotional reaction, he even had to be prompted to say thank you. He's not there anymore. Not who we knew.
Yeah, this is kind of a joke stock down to have Mira up, but like after everything she did, and then to just probably the last time we see her again is Bran just going, "You're right, I don't need you anymore. Okay, bye." And
funny.
And she's just devastated.
Little fun fact. I mean, they've hinted heavy in the show that it's going to be Bran that tells him. But little fun fact, Mira's dad is Hallan Reed. Hallan Reed is the other guy that was at the Tower of Joy with Ned. So he ostensibly is the last person left alive that knows for a fact that Jon is Lyanna Stark's son and not Ned and some other person. So her dad, technically, a lot of book readers have thought he's going to be the one that somehow tells Jon what his true lineage is. Now in the show, we've seen Bran in his vision, so we have every expectation that that's how he's going to find out. But it is interesting that her dad would also know.
The Brandon bomb, Brandon book smarts. That was a good one. So who, Ben, Nick, who are your stock down?
Ben can go.
I'm gonna go because my mind, Drogon, he's down. He's down.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
He's literally down.
Literally.
Scratch.
Yep. Yeah. Boom. Cards on the table. There it is. Yeah, he's down,
Yeah.
but
We
kind of talk about that. Let me find another one. Nick,
Nick, let's do yours.
What are you talking
Okay.
about, man?
Do that last week.
Yeah, I was gonna do Littlefinger, but I won't. I'm gonna do Tyrion, just because Tyrion feels a little conflicted. Like, he was on the battlefield and he was looking at all of the Lannister men getting killed, and he kind of was like not really feeling it, and then he was really worried about Jaime, so I feel like he's kind of conflicted inside. And then like Daenerys had this scene where she was kind of questioning his loyalty, and I don't think to that point
out.
Yeah, she called him out, and I didn't really, to that point, I wasn't questioning his loyalty at all. But then seeing him, I still am not questioning his loyalty, but two of his battle plans, the previous episodes, failed. And then he specifically told her, don't use your dragon, and when she did, she kicked ass. So like,
well,
I mean,
technically, he was telling her not to use the dragon on the city, and her argument
That's
when they're on
true.
the beach was talking about burning down the Red Keep in the city. And even John was like, "No, that's no good."
John was like,
but
pump
it's
the
okay
brakes.
just to fry a bunch of dudes. That's all right. I know they're not civilians,
Yeah.
but just like, yeah, melt all those soldiers. It doesn't matter. And I'm quite sure while the gold made it in, they did burn up the city's entire food supply. So now, instead of just burning them alive, those people are going to starve to death.
I think that's completely legit, right? Because she actually expressed, I think it was last week, she expressed concern about the food for the Dothraki, the food for her armies or whatever, because I think they were planning on using Highgarden's food because that was on her team, right? And so Cersei, basically, by taking the food and the gold, you're absolutely right, Nick. I think that's going to be a huge point if they want to delve into the kind of political implications, because I don't know. And we got little other hints too, right? So Sansa's making a conversation before they come down and watch Arya and Brienne fight. They're making a conversation about the grain storage, right, and the food that they've been storing. She even makes a comment about how if such and such hasn't saved enough food, they're going to have to exist on what they've got. So being able to have all these pieces together, and to your point, them wiping out a huge food supply there's no way that doesn't mean something.
Why would you wipe that out? Why would, like, you don't need to. Like, you got a dragon.
I don't know that she knew that those wagons had food on it. One of them popped open and hit her dragon. I don't know that she knew necessarily that it was food.
So yeah, down on Tyrion in terms of some of his thoughts and his strategies, but like I like the character development. Like I liked the where it's going. So, but down in terms of
yeah. So I'm gonna sort of circle us back to the last scene again. With I'm surprised none of us really talked about it, but I feel like Jaime is clearly the biggest down this episode. Considering he is possibly at the lowest point below sea level of anybody, but also just the fact that he's been kind of emasculated this entire season, both by Euron, by the fact that his strategy last week all worked out perfectly, and we're supposed to imagine him this master commander, but then you're as good as you are, you're still not good enough against dragons and stuff. No matter how, even if you have at least one scorpion, you're still weak, and he can't even shoot the scorpion because he has one hand. And so I just felt like it was a one hit after another, and then he went for this bold, brave, this daring kill of Drogon, and he had to be rescued or else he would have been killed. So I'm not quite sure how much lower he could be at this point, which is interesting that his character went this route, I think.
I don't disagree with... Oh, go ahead, Nick.
I was gonna say, I kind of found that slightly heroic. Like, I felt like he was trying to kill Dany, less so than Drogon. And then also there was another scene where he was fighting the Dothraki Blood Rider and had his sword and like was potentially losing that fight, and then Dickon speared the Dothraki in the back of the neck, so he kind of was vulnerable in that fight too. Also, I just want to get one other point in there. He's sinking so fast because he has that giant anchor as a hand that's just dragging him down. It's like a 60-pound.
He's like,
his arms if you notice, they have to really bulk up that sleeve because that arm is just buff as shit because of that gold hand.
I completely agree with you though on his stock down this week. I would take a little bit of umbrage with last week, though, because last week he had sexy times with his lady. Now, granted, it's his sister, which is odd.
Oh, last week I think we had him in the up.
Right. So I don't think he's been down this whole season. But I definitely agree that he went down this literally and figuratively. He definitely went down this week.
Last week he was my down, I think, actually.
Yeah, I did. Last week's I wouldn't agree because I mean he took over.
Well, you should have complained about it then.
I think I did.
Well, where do you so projecting for the next episode, and where the season's going? I don't know. I watched the post, the stuff for next week, but it went by so fast. We've already talked. I completely forget everything. But Brandon, having watched it about 17 times, where do you think Jamie may be going, and where do you think the series may be going for next?
Have you already watched that episode?
Yeah.
First of all,
is it a good one?
even if I had watched something in advance, theoretically,
He's a three-eyed raven.
Theoretically, it wouldn't have had the bumper for next week, so that I still got just as brief a time at it as you did this one. So, what I'll say this, I do think, I'm not sure how, because they made it such a dramatic shot of Jamie sinking there, so I'm not exactly sure how he gets saved from that, but I don't think he's dead. So I do think what's next week for him, I do think he's probably going to be captured or somehow is contained by Daenerys. I think we'll get to see some interaction. I'm kind of curious to see where that goes and how that transitions. As far as predictions and whatnot, I'm not sure. I think that it might, because I do think we're meant to think that that's the mainstay of the Lannister army, and that's a pretty devastating blow to her army, if not really an encroachment on the city. I do think that it might create some type of either temporary detente or negotiation. I think it'll slow down from the fighting, and there might be some talking. So I do think that would be my prediction. I think the next episode might be more of a strategic and less battle focused one, at least down south. Up north, we've sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, what if Jamie is caught and Cersei doesn't give a shit? And that's like the degradation of.
I think she'll give a shit, even if she didn't give a shit about him. I think that's going to be a pretty big blow to the army, and like I said, the food, right? So it might be one of those things where, they have to go into some type of detente where they're not in active battle, but they haven't made up or anything. But I just wonder if that kind of creates a stalemate to where it's now a little bit more even. I do think we've now went 2 episodes, I think, without seeing what's going on with Beric Dondarrion and the Hound. And I think we're going to head back north. I think we'll catch up with him. What I don't know, while I love for them to go to Winterfell and to get that Arya Hound reunion, I don't get the sense that that's what we're going to see. I wonder if they're headed further north than that, and they don't even stop at go and collect $200. I wonder if they're going straight to the wall. What's everybody else think? Anybody else have a sense of it?
Yeah.
They mentioned when the Hound looked into the fire, he saw the White Walkers or something at like around Eastwatch by the Sea or something like that. I felt like that maybe was where they were headed.
That was in the trailer too, right? Yeah, we finally saw the White Walkers again.
They're by the sea, you said?
Yeah.
The castle is called Eastwatch by the Sea. It's specifically one of the Night Watch's castle that's on, I believe it might be the right end, but it's on the end near the sea and the wall, kind of like at that meetup. So, and that is kind of what he described in the fire. So I do think that you're probably right about that. We also have a scene, and this was in the preseason trailer, where there's a scene where Bran's sitting in a wheelchair and his eyes are white, and then it cuts and you see ravens flying over the Night King and his armies, and he kind of like looks up. I wonder if that's coming for next episode, is kind of setting the scene of where Beric Dondarrion's troops might go. I wonder if we kind of see Bran kind of overlooking and watching what's happening.
Do you think with the food shortage that Cersei that those armies may go north too?
Which armies are that?
So I guess, is food just a shortage everywhere
at
this point?
Up north, right? You've already got snow falling, right? So they're not generating any more crops. It's a matter of taking what food they've already harvested, and it's a matter of moving and managing it and making sure that they space it out so that they're rationing. So that's a big thing. And in the books, they get in a lot more detail of it. But the rationing of food is something that the North is constantly, the whole winter is coming, right? The whole Stark words is about preparing for the winter. Because when they have winters in this world, they last for years, right? It's not like our winters where it's a seasonal thing. So they talk about the long winter. Even if you didn't have the Night's Watch or the Walking Dead and all that, you'd still have to worry about a winter that lasts for a long time. So harvesting, the preparation and the planning is super important to the North. When you've got the South, they take things a little bit more for granted, but it's still going to be a lot of food. And I don't think that winter, especially now that the Night's King's coming down, I think that winter is going to go all the way south. So I think it's going to be a big deal. Maybe not. Maybe this is setting stage. This could be, though, chess piece setting for even next season, right? It could be a longer term thing. But I definitely think Nick's absolutely right that that's going to come up.
So Brandon, I have a question about the winter. So when it becomes winter and it's going to affect the North more, but it's not going to. It's to the South will be like Florida in the winter. Is basically what you're saying.
The winter actually, and I'm sure it's in the books, and I'm forgetting some of this detail, but the winter, even on times where the Night's Watch is not part of it, the winter can last for multiple years. It's called the long winter, and it's something like the Ravens sent out the white Ravens get sent out from the Citadel once they have verified yes it's winter time to kind of tell everybody it's coming. I don't know how far down south it goes. It might not go to Dorne, but I do think it gets down close to King's Landing, and it's something that affects everybody. So they're not oblivious to it. What's different this time is I think it's implied in the books and in the show that there's almost like winter that's brought with the Night's King himself, and the troops come down. That it makes it more harsh. It makes it more of a punch. It's going to make it more permanent. So I think that's also part of it. And there's a lot of people that think, I didn't get it at first watch myself, but there's a lot of people that say that vision that we saw, I think it was in episode 2, where Bran seeing a vision of the White Walkers coming. That's when you see that giant. Remember that we saw like 3 giants with his arm marching. There's a lot of people that say if you look at the beginning of that scene, they're walking over grass and they're bringing like winter with them.
It's covering over.
If you look at the intro credits, like the ice is extended south of the wall to like halfway to Winterfell or something like that.
Yeah, I think, and we've actually seen snow on the ground at Winterfell, right? So it's winter is definitely encroaching and coming south. I couldn't tell you exactly how far down it goes, but I do think it gets down into the areas near King's Landing.
Is Essos affected by winter too?
I don't know about that one. I want to say no. I don't think so. But I'm not sure. And if you look on maps, by the way, north of the wall, there's like parts of the land that are defined, and literally on the maps it says always winter, meaning that they're always under the land of always winter. I think so. There's actually some pretty cool Google Maps that you can bring up for Westeros, and kind of it's really fascinating actually to look.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So I'm actually really interested in because of the uncertainty around Grey Worm, like the idea of captives of Jaime and Grey Worm and the potential of a trade, or how are they going to get how are those going to get resolved? In addition to Ilaria, in addition to Yara, and there's like a lot of prisoners that could be swapped even.
Oh, that's a
and how those get resolved, or like in whether it's what was that Tom Hanks Bridge of Spies or whatever, where they literally get on a bridge and send them across, or if it's like, oh, we're gonna bring them out, but we got dragons. No, we got scorpions. Let's fight.
Would Euron give up Yara for Jaime?
Oh, he might even sabotage the whole thing.
Unless,
I think it's really interesting.
He uses that to push Cersei to marry him before the battle's over. And how much would Jaime be pissed if his freedom is bought with Yara, but at the price of that marriage going ahead and going forward? You've just opened up a complete can of stuff there, Matt.
Big can of worms. Which again, and then John's in the background the whole time, just like, I'm gonna get my mic closer. Just, so stupid. The Night King's coming. God, let's go.
He's over it.
Did you see how scary they looked on the cave wall? They were like twice the size of the other people.
I used 2 colors chalk. I had the blue eyes.
No, we need to splice in like a piece of footage with him like chalk dust on his fingers.
Just like,
you have no idea how long it took me to find blue chalk.
All right, guys. Well, any other stray thoughts or opinions going into next week?
I just think this was a good episode overall. It's probably the best episode so far. It was the best episode in terms of character development and war put together. They didn't skimp on the war, the battles, but they also didn't. I mean, clearly the giant dragon coming in was awesome, and that whole sequence. But also they developed a lot of characters this episode too, with Danny and Jon and Tyrion and Jaime's stuff's going on too. So there's a lot of good plot going on too.
They're able to cover a lot of ground in a shorter amount of time now that everybody's kind of lumped together.
Yeah.
Or even like a bunch of people in the same scene, and like they've kind of had these reunions already.
Westeros comes at you fast. Yeah, I love the battle. As much as Battle of the Bastards was very, very impressive, this one was a lot smaller, overall. But the impact, at least for me personally, being able to see dragons not only used, but the way they designed the shots and they blocked it out and they thought about it, I was over the moon for it. Loved it a lot.
Me too.
Really impressed.
Me too.
Nick's just there.
All right, good. Yeah, Nick's just smiling.
I'm a
Dragon.
All right.
Boom.
Dragons.
Boom.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Until next week, guys.